My name is Keren, and before you judge me by my name alone, well, maybe in my case, you'd be right. For most of my life, I thought being tough made me powerful. I thought if people feared me, they would respect me. I thought if I spoke louder, demanded more, and never backed down, the world would bend to me. It didn't matter if I made someone cry. It didn't matter if I ruined a cashier's day. It didn't matter if I made a waitress shake with nerves while taking my order. In my mind, that was just life. You either controlled the room or the room controlled you. And I was determined to never be the one getting pushed around. Every morning, my routine was the same. I'd wake up at 6 sharp, throw on my silk robe, march into the kitchen, and immediately start complaining. If my coffee wasn't hot enough, I'd mutter under my breath about how nobody in this house had standards. If my husband forgot to buy the exact creamer I liked, I'd make sure he knew he'd ruined my morning. If my teenage son left one dish in the sink, I'd slam a cabinet just loud enough to make everyone uncomfortable. That was my version of communication. By 8, I'd be out the door, perfectly dressed, hair sprayed into place, sunglasses on, like I was preparing for battle. And in a way, I was. At the grocery store, I'd inspect every apple like the produce section had personally offended me. If one was bruised, I'd hunt down an employee and demand to know why they were trying to sell garbage. If the line moved too slowly, I'd huff dramatically and tap my foot so everyone around me knew I was displeased. At the coffee shop, I was worse. If they forgot the extra caramel drizzle, unacceptable. If the foam wasn't right, incompetence. If a barista smiled too casually and said, "Sorry about that," I'd lean forward and say the sentence I had practically made my trademark. Maybe next time, do your job properly. I can still remember the looks on their faces. Embarrassment, stress, sometimes anger. And somehow, I walked away feeling victorious, like I had won something. By noon, I'd usually stop by the boutique downtown, where the employees knew me by name, and not in a good way. I'd return things I had clearly worn, I'd argue over sale prices, I'd ask for a manager before anyone even had the chance to help me. Then lunch, and if the food took too long, if the water glass sat empty for more than 2 minutes, if the server didn't read my mind, well, let's just say I had a talent for making strangers regret clocking in that day. I told myself I was teaching people standards. I told myself the world was lazy and rude, and I was just the one brave enough to say it. But the truth? I was miserable, and I made sure everyone around me was miserable too. Then came the day that changed me. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special, just another ordinary day for me to leave a trail of irritation behind me. I was at a small diner on the edge of town, one of those cozy places with checkerboard floors and old-fashioned pie displays. I had gone in because the line at my usual cafe was too long, and I was already annoyed before I even sat down. The waitress, a sweet girl who looked barely 20, came over with a smile. "Good afternoon. Can I get you started with coffee?" I glanced at her name tag, Emily. "Obviously," I snapped, "and make sure it's fresh. I don't drink burnt sludge." Her smile flickered, but she nodded and hurried away. I sat there smugly, checking my phone, already prepared to complain about something else. Then the front door opened, and in walked me. Well, not literally, but it sure felt like it. She was tall, sharply dressed, chin lifted like she owned the building. Her lipstick was flawless. Her purse looked expensive. Her expression said she considered everyone around her beneath her. She marched to the counter, and before the hostess could even say hello, the woman cut her off. "I've been standing here for 12 seconds. Is this how you treat customers in this town?" The whole diner went quiet. I looked up, mildly entertained at first. Then she kept going. "This place looks sticky. Why is it sticky? Why is the menu bent? Why is your sign outside crooked? Is anyone in charge here, or do you all just guess your way through the day?" She was loud, sharp, cruel. The hostess looked mortified, and suddenly, for the first time in a long time, I felt uncomfortable. The woman was seated in the booth behind me. Her name, I learned quickly, was Janet, because she announced it to everyone. "My name is Janet, and I expect decent service." I heard every word after that. She complained about the silverware. She complained about the air conditioning. She complained that the waitress refilled her water too aggressively. She sent her food back twice, then 3 times, and every time she spoke, it was like hearing my own voice thrown back at me through a cracked mirror. Harsh, condescending, needlessly mean. I wanted to roll my eyes at her. I wanted to tell her to calm down. I wanted to say, "Lady, these people are trying their best." Then it happened. Emily, my waitress, came back to my table with my coffee and accidentally bumped my elbow because Janet had shouted so loudly behind me that she startled both of us. A little coffee splashed onto my sleeve. Before I could even react, Janet stood up and pointed at me. "Well, if you hadn't been taking up half the aisle like a queen on a throne, maybe the girl could actually work." I blinked. "What did you just say?" Janet smirked. "You heard me. Some people think the world revolves around them." The whole diner went even quieter, and in that moment, I felt it. The heat in my face, the sting in my chest, the humiliation of being treated like I was less than human. I wanted to lash out. Oh, I was ready. But before I could, I looked at Emily. She was frozen. Her hands were shaking. And suddenly, I saw something I had never truly seen before. Not Janet, not myself. Emily. All the people like Emily. Every cashier, every waitress, every barista, every store clerk, every person I had made feel small just because I could. I had been Janet. No, I had been worse, because Janet had only ruined one afternoon. I had built a lifestyle out of it. For the first time in years, I couldn't finish my meal. I paid quietly, left a bigger tip than I ever had, and walked out with my stomach twisted into knots. That night, I sat at my kitchen table in silence. No complaints about dinner, no criticism, no angry muttering. My husband actually asked me if I was feeling okay, and honestly, I wasn't. Because once you finally see yourself clearly, it's hard to look away. The next morning, I tried something I hadn't done in a long time. I was kind. At the coffee shop, when the barista accidentally gave me 2 pumps of vanilla instead of 1, I smiled and said, "That's okay, thank you." She stared at me like I had grown a second head. At the grocery store, when the cashier apologized for the wait, I said, "No worries, take your time." At the boutique, I thanked the employee for helping me. She nearly dropped the clothing hangers. Word spread fast. People in town thought I was up to something. Some assumed I wanted a favor. Others thought I was sick. A few people just didn't trust it. And honestly, I didn't blame them. I had spent years teaching people who I was. I couldn't expect one good week to erase all that. So I kept going. And yes, I messed up sometimes. There were days when my temper slipped out before I could catch it. A late order, a rude driver, a frustrating phone call. The old Keren would flare up like muscle memory. But now, when it happened, I stopped. I apologized. That word used to feel impossible in my mouth. Now I used it often. "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I'm working on myself." Some people accepted it right away. Some didn't. Some gave me suspicious looks for months, but I kept showing up differently. I started asking cashiers how their day was. I learned the barista's name. I tipped better. I said please. I said thank you. I let people merge in traffic. I held doors open. I complimented instead of criticized, and little by little the world around me changed. Or maybe it was me. The same town that once felt hostile started to feel warm. The same people I thought were incompetent turned out to be funny, hardworking, patient, and kind. And the strangest part, the more respect I gave, the more respect I received. Not fear, not forced politeness. Real respect, real connection, real friendship. Months later, I went back to that same diner. Emily was there. She saw me walk in and froze for half a second. Then I smiled and said, "Hi, Emily, it's good to see you." She blinked and then smiled back. A real smile. Not nervous, not forced, just genuine. When I left that day, she said, "You know, you've really changed." I looked at her. Yeah, I finally learned what it feels like to be on the other side. And that's the truth. I spent years believing the way to earn respect was to demand it, bully it, scare it out of people. But fear isn't respect, control isn't kindness, and cruelty doesn't make you strong. If anything, it reveals how weak and unhappy you really are. I had to meet my own reflection in another woman named Keren to understand the damage I was doing. I had to feel the sting of being treated badly before I truly understood the pain I caused. Now I live by something simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Because every cashier is a person. Every waitress is a person. Every stranger is carrying something you can't see. And the energy you put into the world has a way of finding its way back to you. My name is Keren, and for the first time in my life, I'm proud of the way I treat people.